Eloquent JavaScript is one of the most popular books for JavaScript beginners. Today, I'll walk you through the second chapter of the book. It's about program structure. So you will learn the basic elements that form a JavaScript program, such as function, loops, conditional execution. So let's go. The first thing you need to understand is some basic concepts like expression and statements. Expression is like a fragment of a line. So it's not a line, it's just part of the line. It's like a phrase of English in English language. So, but since it's a computer program, it produces a value. So here are two examples. 22 is an expression. It produces the value of the number 22. And then the string day is also an expression. It produces the value of a string, which is day. Statement is like a full sentence. So expression, like many expressions, make statements, or a statement can be also just one expression. Like in the example here, 22 with a semicolon, that means it's a line, it's done, it's finished. It's a sentence, and this sentence contains just one expression, that's 22, which produces the value of 22. And then the second line, we got a more complicated kind of statements. So there is a keyword var, and then the variable age, and then the value of the variable. So we will talk about it in the next slides. Basically, a program is just a list of statements. So you got, it's like when you are talking to somebody, you use a program to talk to the computer. You tell the computer what to do and what we have, things like that. Okay. The second concept you need to understand is variable. Variable is a thing you use to keep your value. So here var age equals 20. We saw it in the last slide. Means we define a variable called age, and the value of this variable equals to 20, and var is short for variable. So var is a keyword that you use to create a variable. So and age is the name of the variable, and 20 is the value of the variable, and the equal sign here is used to assign a value to the variable. So here the whole sentence means like now we define a variable, and the name of the variable is age, and I want to assign a value to this variable, and the value is 20. So after this line, we create a variable called age, and its value is 20. You can use age as 20 because the value of age is 20, right? So the name of a variable, there are some rules for the name of a variable. So it can contain digits but cannot start with a digit. So you can go to age, the number 2 and then age. That's not valid. But you can do it like var my 2 boys. That's totally alright. And the next one, you can't use punctuation except for $sign and underscore. So you can use var $sign my underscore boy as the name of the variable. By the way, you can see here, it's not necessary to assign a value to the variable like right away. So here I define a variable called $sign my underscore boy, and it doesn't contain any value yet. So later I can just assign another value to this variable. Okay, the value of a variable can be changed with the equal sign. So here in this example we define a variable called age and assign a value of 20 to it, and we console log the age. Console log is a function you use to print something into the JavaScript console. So let's try this. Okay, here is the JavaScript console. If you are not sure where to find it, it's on View. It's under View. It's Google Chrome, under Developer, and then JavaScript console. Yeah, that's it. So let's try var age equal 20, right? And then console log age. There we go. We got the number 20, which means age equals to 20. Okay, and then we try to change it, age to 21, and console log again. Now it's 21, right? Okay, that's variable. Hey, I'm sorry. Next, keyword and environment. Keyword are words with a special meaning. We have already seen the var as used as a keyword to define a variable, but there are many other keywords like break, case, while, for, if we will learn today. You don't need to remember all these keywords because you will encounter them again and again, and you will learn them by heart, and yeah, you will eventually remember all of them. And yep, that's keyword. Oh, by the way, you can use keyword as the name of a variable. Environment means everything in the background. Like when you start the browser would set up something in the background so that you can interact with it, like some variable, some functions. Yeah, that's it. You just have to know like what environment you are in. Usually with JavaScript you are using browser as your environment. Okay. And the next thing is function. Function is a very, very important concept in JavaScript or any programming language. So function is a piece of program wrapped into a variable. That means, like, for example, I need to do a math to do some math to, I don't know, to multiply 10 10 digits. So I need to use it again and again. I have many number I need to add to calculate for the sum. Okay, so and every time the process is the same. It's just the numbers are different. So I create a name, a variable like sum, and then you just put different number to this variable, and the variable will do the math for you. So here is example, a function called alert. What it does is to print out a string you pass to it. So let's try it here in the JavaScript console. Okay, here we go. See, good morning. That's exactly what we pass to the function. So alert is a function that will pop up as a windows to say something you pass to it. Yeah. So every time it's doing the same thing, just you give it a different parameter or argument. Here is the string of good morning. Yeah, it will perform the same function with your parameter or arguments. So console log, we mentioned it just now, is also a function, means to print something on the console. And then another thing called return value. So for alerts, it does something for you, and there is another kind of function. They calculate and then return the result to you. So here is an example. The function is called math.max. So max is the function, and math is it's a package with all the functions related to mathematics. So we have maybe 100 functions related to math. So we combine them, we group them together and give the group a name, which is math. And when we want to use one function inside the package, we just use math dot and then the function name. So here we use the max function to find which number is the highest number. So let's give it a try. This button will clean the console. So okay. Okay, and then we console log the big. We got 4. Yep, but obviously 4 is the highest number in between 2 and 4. Yeah, that's what. So this function finds the highest number and then return it to the variable bit. So the value of the result of the function is stored in the variable bit. When we console log it, we get the variable. Yep. And then so there are two more there are two more functions I want which are mentioned in the book. They are confirm and prompt. Confirm is similar to alert, but it offers two buttons. So you can click OK or cancel. When you click OK, it will return a value of true. When you click cancel, it will return a value of false. That's a Boolean value. I hope you still remember that from the first chapter. And then prompt is also similar. It will pop windows, allow you to input something. So the first argument you pass is the message to your user. So here we say, tell me everything you know. That would be like the introduction. And then the second argument is the hint in the input box, because prompt allows you to input something, and then the return value will be the input text. Let's give it a try. Okay, so confirm. Let's go with this one. Yeah, you can see here, this is our message, the argument, and then we got cancel and we got OK. I click OK, it will return a value of true. So let's try again. We click cancel. Yeah, you got a value false. Okay, next we want to try prompt. Okay, we can do that. And then we got a hint here. Anything. So here we go. So here, hello is the message, is the introduction, and anything is the hint in the input box, right? So you can input anything like morning. Click OK. You got the return value is the input text, which is morning in this case. Let's try again. We click cancel. We got a null rather than false because it's empty. Empty means null. Null means nothing, right? So that's confirm and prompt. Okay. Next we got control flow. So usually a program is a list of statements. So the computer execute the program like one line after the other. And conditional execution is when you want to run some statements only when the conditions are met. So here is an example. So we define a variable called age, and it equals to 17, and then we do a if conditional execution. So if age larger than 18, we do the next line, console log you are an adult. But here age is less than 17, so this statement will not be run, which means you won't see you are an adult in the console because the condition here, age larger than 18, returns a value, returns false. So if false, the next statement will not be run. The second concept about control flow is loop. Loop means you repeat the same statements until some conditions are met. Okay, let's look into the details of conditional execution. So here is the most common conditional execution, if and else. So when the condition is met by the condition with if is met, the next statement will be executed. Otherwise, the statements after the else keyword will be executed. So here is an example. You can see the two functions are both in bold. I need to explain that a little bit. The number function means it will convert something into a number. If because we use prompt to let the user to input something, so they could input a number or letter or whatever, and whatever is input into prompt will be converted into string, because prompt takes strings, returns strings as a result. So we need to convert them back to number. So if you input a number, prompt will convert it into string, and we use the number function to convert it back to number. But if you enter a letter, prompt would return a letter, and number couldn't convert it into a number. So here we got another function here called is NaN, which means not a number. That's what happened when somebody input letter or something that's not a number. You will got a value of NaN, which means not a number. So we check if the number we got is not a number or not. There is a exclamation mark in front of the function, which means we want the opposite. So if it's not a number, then which means it is a number, then we will alert something. And then if that condition is not met, we will alert, hey, why didn't you give me a number? So let's try this out. I've already got the example here. By the way, in console log, in the JavaScript console, if you want to move to the next line, you need to press Shift and enter. Yeah. So here, let's go. So this is the prompt from asking us to pick a number. We will try with a number 3 and then click OK. After we click OK, the 3 will be passed to the function number to convert into a number and store it in the variable, the number. Right? And then the value of the number is a number. So when you do is not a number, you got false, and then the exclamation mark will turn the false. We got the opposite of the false, which is true. So that means it is a number. So we will alert the square foot of 3. That would be 9, exactly here. Let's try it again with a letter. A or something. Okay, so we pass a letter to the prompt, and then the number function tries to convert it into a number but fail, which means it will return a NaN, and the NaN will be stored in the number variable. Now we check if we use is NaN to check the number, and you will get true because it is a NaN. And then the exclamation mark get the opposite of the true, which means 4. That means the condition for if is a 4. That means the next statement will not be executed but move to else keyword. So the statements after the else keyword will be executed. So you got the message here. Yeah, that's the if else conditional execution. So you can stack as many if and else as you want. I'm sorry. Okay, here is an example. So we check, we prompt a message here again to pick a number and then try to convert the number into a number and store it in the variable called num. And then we check if the num is lower than 10, we alert small. Otherwise, we want to check if it's lower. So from the first condition, we know it has to be higher than 10 to move to this else. And then we use another if to check if the number is lower than 100. If that's also true, which means both so we got the number is larger than 10, and then we got another condition is the number is lower than 100, we alert medium. If the first condition num lower than 10 and the second condition num lower than 100 are both not met, we execute the last else. That would be to alert large. Let's try this in the console. Okay, I got it here. So we prompt to get a number and then convert it into a number and then check. First, we check if it's lower than 10. Let's just try it. So let's try with a number lower than 10. Let's say 8. So we got small because it falls into the first if. If the num is lower than 10, we alert small. Okay. Now let's try it again. Let's say 20. So you got medium because the number is not lower than 10, which means the first else will be executed, and that means we are going to check it again if it's lower than 100, which is true in this case, so we alert medium. And finally we will try another one. Let's say 200. So the program the computer goes to the first line, check if num is lower than 10, which is not. So it moves to skipped the first alert and move to the next else, and check if it's lower than 100. Still not true, so it moves to the last else and execute the alerts large. That's why we got large. That's if and else. And the next thing is loop. Loop means you continue, keep repeating the same program, the same lines until some condition is met. So here is an example. We got a variable called number which equals to 0, and then we check the condition with the while keyword. The condition is number lower or equal to 12. If that's true, we will execute the codes in the braces. So the braces means it groups several lines of code in as a single statements. So we use it when we have more than one line to execute. So here we have 2 lines. We want the loop to execute. So the first line is the console log the number, and then we increase the value of the number by 2. So we make the number equals to the previous number plus 2. Yeah, let's try it. Okay, I got here. So the first step, we define a variable called number and make it equals to 0. So we check the condition while number is lower or equal to 12, which is true because number is 0 when you run this program for the first time, and it will console log the number which is 0 when you learn it for the first time. And here this is the previous, like the value of the number of the present, and then we add 2 to it. So which means here would be 0 plus 2, that would be 2, and then the value of 2 will be stored into number as a new value. Okay, and again the code, the 2 lines inside the braces will be repeat until this condition is met. Let's try. So first time when we learn, we console log the number 0 and then adds 2 to number and store it as number. And then the codes keep repeating. The second time we learn number equals to 2, still lower than lower and not equal to lower or equal to 12. So the code, the 2 line will be run again and again until when it's 12, the number is when the number is 12, it's still small or smaller or equal right to 12. So the next the code will be repeat again, and the number will be print out and add 2 to it, and it becomes 14. And when the while keyword to check the number of 14, it doesn't match the condition, so it will not be run again. And the final 14, you can see there is an arrow on the left. That means that's the final result by of the program, but that's only printed out by the console log rather than our program. Yeah. Okay, that's loop. So this is the while loop, and you should remember the braces. It can be used in if, while, and all other situation when you have more than one line to execute. Actually, I recommend you to use the braces, curly braces, all the time, even you have only one line to execute, like in the example of if just now, because it's easier. It's like you always have the braces here. You won't forget to, when you have more than one line. Yeah. The next loop we are going to talk about is the do loop. It's very, very similar to the while loop. The only difference is that the do loop will be executed at least once. Let's take a look at the example here. So we start with the keyword and then braces. Actually, you can see there is only one line in it. You don't really need that, but I mean, yeah, it's a good idea to always have the, oh no, I'm sorry. Here you need the braces because we have a while condition checking behind that. So I'm sorry, but that's my point. You should always have the braces because you can be wrong with the braces, but sometimes if you forgot the braces, the program might not work. So it's good to have them here all the time. So here we have a do keyword and then a braces, and then we do one thing. We define a variable called your name, and then we assign a value to the variable by prompt. So we prompt a pop-up window and ask for the name, and if they input something like Dave or any letter, that value will be stored into your name, and then your name will not be empty, and if the conditional checking behind that while not your name, that means when your name is empty, that would be a false, and not false means true. So the true, when the conditional checking here is true, the loop will be repeat. So which means if you don't enter anything, you got a empty string, that means false, and with a exclamation mark in front of it, that would be true. So when you don't enter anything, the program will keep prompting at you, ask you to enter something. But if you enter something like a letter, just 8, your name will be will contain something, and that means it's not false. And not false, that means it's true, and with an exclamation mark, which means to get the opposite, that would be false, and then the loop will be done. So let's take a look at the example. Okay, here it is. Let's try. So if I don't enter anything, that means your name will be empty, that means false, and not false means true. So the loop will continue. Click OK, click OK, click OK. See, it will keep prompting at you for a name. And if we enter something like Dave, so you got the name Dave. And since you got something in your name and it's true, and with an exclamation mark makes it into false, and it doesn't, when it's false, the loop ends. So it moves to the next line, that would be console log your name, that's Dave I input, right? So here is something you need to remember. The loop always executes, execute its body at least once. The body means the code inside the loop, the do loop. And all strings are true except the empty string, which means when you didn't input anything, so it's empty. The empty string will be converted into false. Okay. The next thing is a for loop. So here is an example. So look at the parentheses. We got two semicolon here. So there are 3 statements inside it, or we can say expression, because they produce a value, and the whole line can be a statement, the whole for statement. Yeah. Anyway, so we in the parentheses we create a variable called number and assign 0 to it, and we have a condition here. When the number is lower or equal to 12, and then we have a increment. Like, what do we do with the number? We add 2 to the number every time. So at the first time, when you run the for loop for the first time, the number will be 0, which means it is lower and equal to 12. So the loop will be run, and after it's run for the first time, the number will add 2 to become 2, right? And again until the number is higher than 12, right? Let's take a look at the example. I got it here, see, just like that, and enter. So we got 0 for the first round, and then 2 for the second round, and then until 12. Okay. So one thing you need to remember the 3 expressions in the parentheses, and then you need to remember the counter is destroyed after the loop, which means the variable number will be destroyed after the for loop, which means you cannot use it later on. Yep. Okay, so we have in the for loop we increase number by 2. Here there is a better way to do that. Like, when you want to increase the number itself by 1 or 2 somewhere value, you can just use plus equal operator. That means add 1 to itself. So if the number equals to 1, and after this line it will be 2, and if it's 2 it will be 3. So when you can put 1 after the plus equal operator, or 2 or 3 or whatever, and if you just need to add 1, like increase by 1, you can just put 2 plus after the number. So the third line, we can see number plus plus. That means add 1 to the previous value of number. And you can also do it by you can also do the same thing to minus. So when you put 2 minus after number, that means minus 1. Yeah, here is an example for minus 2, but when it's more than 1, you cannot use plus plus or minus minus. You need to use plus equal or minus equal. So besides plus and minus, you can also do it with the start, which means multiply. Yep. The 7 points we want to talk about is to break the loop. Use the keyword break, obviously. So here is an example. We have a for loop here. The variable current equal to 20. The second expression, the second part is empty. That means there is no condition check. That means the loop will be repeat forever, right? And then the increment is plus plus, which means add 1 every time. So that means if we don't have the if inside, the loop will be repeat forever, and every time the value of current will increase 1 by 1. Okay, so in the for loop we have a if conditional execution that will check the value of current. If it can this symbol, the percentage symbol, means remainder. So if current this remainder operates 7 equals to 0, that means like 21 divides 7, you got 0, right? But 20 divides 7, you got 6. You know what I'm talking about? And if the value of current divides 7 and the remainder equals to 0, that means the value of current can be divided by 7. So if that's true, we break out of the loop, right? So as a result, we got 21 because 21 can be divided by 7. And then we just break and stop the loop so that it won't be execute forever. That's the break. Okay. Another thing is switch. This is a conditional execution. So like when you have many conditions to check, you can use if and else again and again, like what we did with the number. But it can be easier with the switch statements. So we use switch. In this example, we use switch and prompt to the user what is the weather like, and then if the user input rainy, that would fall into the case of rainy, and then we execute the statements after the colon. That would be console log and then the break. The break means stop right there, right? Break out of the switch, the whole switch statements, so that the rest of the switch within the braces, curly braces, will not be run. So that's the switch statements. Let's take a look. Okay, I got the example here. So let's try rainy. So we got remember to bring an umbrella. So what happened is in the prompt we type in rainy, and which falls into the first case rainy, and the console log will be run and then break out of the whole switch, and it ends right here, right? So let's try again. Let's try cloudy. So again, we start from prompt, and then the first case rainy will not be run because we didn't pass rainy, and the second case sunny would not be run, and then we got the third case cloudy. So that's exactly what we passed to the switch statements, and this line will be executed. That's what we got here, and then break out of the whole switch statement. Let's try another. I don't know. Then you got unknown weather time. That's because they are all the cases here, rainy, sunny, cloudy, were not met. So the default will be executed. That's why we got unknown weather time and then break out of the switch. That's the switch statements. So when you have you need to check for multiple situation cases, you can use switch. You can done this with if, but that would be pretty troublesome. Excuse me. Okay. Next thing we want to talk about comments. Comments is like footnotes to the program that will not be run, will not be executed. They are not part. I shouldn't put it like that. They are not the exact code to do what we want to do, but they are just some notes to help us to understand the program. Especially your program will be read by someone else, or like after several years you look back to your old program, you probably won't remember what you were doing over there. So you need some notes to help you to understand the whole program. So here we got the slash here, 2 double slash, that means a single line comment. We got the slash and asterisk. That's a multiple line comment. It's very simple. That means both of them will not be executed. They will be ignored by the computer. It's just for human. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is indentation and capitalization. So you may have noticed in our example, we got some indentation to indicate that the structure, the hierarchy of the program, it's not necessary, but it's recommended. You can use 2 spaces or 4 spaces, or use the tab key. Well, I recommend to use the tab key because in some editor like Sublime or Atom, you can change like how many spaces you want the tab key to be. For example, you just press one tab and you got 4 spaces. Yeah, if you like 4 spaces. And then the next thing is capitalization. Well, it's about the naming of a variable or a function. So it's easier to read with capital letters, but there are several different ways to do that. We can see in the second one, in the third one, we capitalize every word. And the second example, we use underscore. Well, they are all fine. You can use all of them, but in JavaScript, it is recommended to use the last one. That is the first word, you don't capitalize it, and the rest of it you capitalize the first letter. Yeah. It's easy to read. It's used by most JavaScript programmers, so just a convention you should follow. Yeah. Okay, here is our summary. That's all we get from the second chapter of Eloquent JavaScript. First, we have some new concepts to learn. Expression and statements. Well, they are phrases and then sentences. And variable is the thing you use to store a value so that you can use it later. And then keywords are the words reserved by JavaScript have some special meanings, like for, like var, like wire. Environment means everything in the background, like the alert function is part of the environment. It's prepared by the JavaScript itself. You don't have to do anything to use it. Yep. And you need to remember the increasement or decreasement for the same variable, like the plus equal, minus, and minus equal, and multiply equal. Yep. The next thing is common. There are 2 types of common, the single line common and multiple line common. Indentation and capitalization, yeah, you should use them, and I think that's very simple. Okay, another concept we've learned in this chapter is function. That's like a huge thing. You are gonna use it again and again. So we've learned 6 functions in this chapter. They are provided by JavaScript. we know alerts, we learn confirm, we learn prompt, we learn console log, we learn is not a number, to check if a value is a number or not. So here I put a string into the function. You will get true because it is not a number, right? The last one is max. Okay. By the way, you don't need to remember all the functions provided by JavaScript, but as you keep learning and using JavaScript, you will know more and more, and yep, that's how you learn them. The next thing is control flow. Okay, there are two types of this method. The first one is conditional. You use if, else, and then switch. They are all based, they check a condition. If that condition is met, they will learn the program after that. And then the loop, which means keep repeating the same codes. We got while, we got do, we got for. And the next thing is break, to break out the loop. Okay, that's all for chapter 2. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to do the exercise at the end of chapter 2. They are very good exercise to help you to digest everything you learn in this chapter. If you need help with the exercise, just comment below. And subscribe to this channel so that you will get notice of the video for the next chapter. In the next chapter, we'll dive into the more detail about functions. As I mentioned before, function is a very, very important concept in JavaScript programming, actually in all programming language. So thanks again.